God's chosen one. Have you ever wondered what truly happens to those who dare to rise against the chosen ones? They may believe they are fighting an individual, but in reality, they are provoking a war with destiny itself, and destiny never loses. Those who oppose the marked ones discover, sooner or later, that every action carries a consequence. And when you strike against divine purpose, the consequences are terrifying. It begins with subtle unrest, small shadows creeping into their path. But it always ends with collapse, so complete that no explanation can deny it. These are not coincidences. These are not accidents. These are verdicts written by a higher hand. Tonight, you will witness the hidden truth, 9 frightening consequences that no enemy of the chosen escapes. Each revelation will peel back a layer of mystery and expose why those marked by light walk under a protection that nothing and no one can shatter. And let me warn you, the final consequence is the most chilling of all, a truth so undeniable it will leave you breathless. This is not just a list, it is a spiritual mirror. As you listen, you will feel it resonate in your own life, and you will understand why no force on earth can silence what has been sealed by heaven. So, if you are ready, stay with me until the very last second, because what you are about to hear will change the way you see destiny forever. And before we begin, I want you to seal this moment with action. If you feel the weight of this message, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment 99 below. Why 99? Because in the language of the Spirit, 99 is not incompleteness. It is the sign that heaven is about to release the final piece, the missing one that completes the circle. By commenting 99, you declare that you are open, aligned, and ready for the divine completion that belongs only to the chosen. Are you ready? Then let's step into the first consequence. 1. The torment of the mind. The very first blow that strikes those who dare to oppose the chosen does not come from outside forces. It begins inside their own mind. It is subtle at first, almost invisible, like a whisper in the silence of the night. But soon that whisper becomes a roar that no distraction can silence. Peace, once taken for granted, evaporates like smoke in the wind. A strange unrest takes root deep within them, and suddenly, even in moments of quiet, their thoughts begin to turn against them. They lie awake at night, eyes wide open in the darkness, their heart racing without cause, their chest heavy, as if an unseen hand were pressing down. Sleep, which once brought rest, now becomes a battlefield where nightmares chase them endlessly. And what is most terrifying is that this torment cannot be explained away as simple stress or worry. Even the strongest skeptics, those who laugh at anything spiritual, feel it, because this is not just psychological, it is a spiritual verdict. It is as if their conscience itself has been seized by a higher court, forced to replay every choice, every word spoken against the chosen. They may try to distract themselves with work, with pleasures, with endless noise and entertainment, but the silence always returns. And when it does, the torment grows louder. Their mind becomes a prison without walls, and their conscience becomes the jailer, reminding them day after day that they crossed a line they cannot uncross. Imagine this: they sit at a table surrounded by friends, yet they feel utterly alone because the battle is raging inside their own head. Every attempt to silence it fails. No alcohol numbs it, no drug drowns it, no distraction buries it. And as this invisible weight presses deeper, they begin to sense that what is chasing them is not madness, it is a verdict from above. This is the beginning of their collapse. For when the mind is shaken, everything else begins to crumble. And as their nights grow longer, their rest disappears, and their sanity slips further away. They cannot help but wonder, if the torment of the mind is only the first consequence, what darker storms still await them? 2. The chain of bad luck. Once the mind is seized, something even stranger begins to unfold in the physical world around them. At first, it looks like nothing more than bad luck. A missed call, a canceled meeting, a payment that never arrives. They shrugged it off, telling themselves it happens to everyone. But soon, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Every step they take is met with resistance. The deal that was guaranteed suddenly falls apart. The friend who promised support vanishes without warning. Objects they value break in their hands for no reason. Technology fails at the exact moment they need it most, and carefully crafted plans collapse like a tower of sand against the tide. What terrifies them most is not the events themselves, but the rhythm of it all. It feels orchestrated, almost deliberate, as though an unseen hand were weaving chaos into the very fabric of their days. The harder they try to move forward, the heavier the resistance becomes. What should be simple turns impossibly complicated. A task that once took minutes now drags on for days. Doors that looked wide open slam shut without explanation. It is not one big disaster. It is 1,000 small disruptions, stacking one on top of the other, crushing their spirit piece by piece. And with each failure, a whisper grows louder in their mind. This is not coincidence. This is consequence. They cannot say it out loud, but deep inside they know. They touched something sacred when they challenged the chosen. And now life itself seems to be pushing back. Every path they take bends against them. Every attempt to regain control slips like water through their fingers. Even those closest to them begin to notice. Why is everything going wrong for you lately? They ask, but there is no logical answer. The enemy of the chosen cannot admit the truth that destiny itself is opposing them. The pressure builds. Each setback leaves them more restless, more paranoid, more convinced that something greater is at work. They search for explanations, bad timing, bad choices, bad people, but none of them fit. Because the failures keep multiplying with surgical precision. They are trapped in a storm of small misfortunes that cut deeper than any single catastrophe ever could. And here lies the cruelest part. The chain of bad luck is only the opening act. It is the warning before the avalanche. For every broken plan, every missed opportunity, every shattered object is a signal from above. Yet they do not understand. Not yet they think the tide of misfortune will pass. They hope the storm will calm, but they are wrong. The chain will only tighten, the weight will only grow. And soon these scattered fragments of failure will transform into something far more destructive, something that no human strength can endure. 3. Failures multiply relentlessly. What begins as small inconveniences soon grows into a tidal wave of devastation. The chain of bad luck does not remain harmless. It mutates into something far heavier, far darker. One setback leads to another, and then another, until the entire structure of their life begins to collapse. The contract that fell through yesterday becomes the bankruptcy of tomorrow. The argument that seemed trivial with a partner becomes the slow poisoning of an entire relationship. The cough they ignored, the fatigue they brushed aside, becomes a shadow over their health that no doctor can easily explain. It is as if the universe itself is pressing down down on every corner of their existence, turning stability into fragility and fragility into ruin. The most chilling part is how fast it all spreads. Failures do not come one at a time. They multiply with ruthless precision. It is like a domino effect. The moment one piece falls, it triggers another, and then another, until the whole chain comes crashing down. They try to grab hold of something, anything, but everything they touch crumbles to dust. What once seemed solid now reveals itself to be paper-thin. A business deal meticulously planned for years collapses overnight. A friendship they trusted turns into betrayal. Even their own strength begins to betray them as their health falters and energy fades. And with every collapse, panic takes root. They rush to fix one area of life only to find that another is falling apart behind them. They pour effort into work, but family life crumbles. They try to repair their health, but financial ruin tightens its grip. No matter where they turn, they are met with loss. The sensation is suffocating, like drowning in quicksand. Every movement meant to save them only drags them deeper into despair. Those around them start to whisper. People who once admired them now shake their heads and say, "What happened to them? Everything used to go so well, and now it's all falling apart." The image of power and control they once projected is shattered. They no longer look like the victor. They look like someone being swallowed alive by invisible forces. And in truth, that is exactly what is happening. For destiny itself has turned against them, closing doors that once stood open, dismantling structures they thought were indestructible. But here lies the cruel twist. Every effort to rebuild only accelerates the collapse. They design new plans only to see them dissolve. They reach for new alliances only to be betrayed again. They fight to prove their strength, but the more they fight, the more fragile they appear. And deep inside, though they may deny it, they sense the truth. This is not ordinary failure. This is judgment. This is the weight of defying those who walk under divine protection. And just when they think it cannot get worse, it does. The collapse of businesses, relationships, and health is not the end. It is only the preparation for the next stage one, even more terrifying. Because when everything external falls apart, something more haunting begins to happen within. Their circle of allies, their last line of defense, starts to vanish. And the moment they realize they are completely alone, the real nightmare begins. For the shadow of isolation, when the storms of failure tear apart everything they once built, something even more chilling creeps in. The slow and merciless shadow of isolation. It does not arrive with thunder or explosions. It comes quietly, like a fog rolling into every relationship, stealing away connections one by one. At first, it is subtle. A friend who doesn't return their call, a colleague who suddenly grows distant, a family member who avoids conversation. They dismiss it as coincidence, but soon the pattern becomes undeniable. The people who once surrounded them, the very ones they leaned on for support, begin to vanish like smoke in the wind. This abandonment cuts deeper than financial ruin or broken plans, because it strikes at the heart of human nature. No one wants to be left alone. And yet, those who rise against the chosen find themselves deserted in their darkest hour. Friends stop inviting them. Allies they once trusted betray them for their own survival. Even family, the blood that should remain unshakable, creates distance, sensing an invisible heaviness they can no longer bear to carry. It is as if the world itself is pulling away, refusing to share the weight of the judgment pressing upon them. And here lies the terrifying truth. This isolation is not random. It is orchestrated by destiny itself. People may not even understand why they are leaving. They simply feel an unseen pressure, a spiritual heaviness that makes them withdraw. Subconsciously, they know that staying close to someone marked by divine judgment brings danger. And so, step by step, the enemy of the chosen is stripped of every human pillar they once relied on. The cruel irony is that isolation reveals the fragility they worked so hard to hide. When the lights were on, they looked powerful, untouchable, surrounded by admiration. But now, with the room empty and the silence echoing, the mask falls away. The laughter that once filled their gatherings is gone. The allies who once cheered for them are nowhere to be found. Even their enemies stop speaking because there is no need. Silence itself has become the loudest humiliation. This loneliness is not just external. It seeps into their soul, amplifying the torment of the mind, intensifying the weight of failure. They stand face to face with a mirror, and the reflection reveals a cruel reality. No human support can save them from divine justice. No friend, no ally, no family member can shield them from what they triggered by touching what was sacred. And as the days stretch longer, the silence becomes unbearable. Loneliness turns into paranoia. They feel the absence of people. But more than that, they feel the presence of something else, something they cannot see, something that watches them from the shadows. And that realization pierces them with fear. Because deep inside they know, if everyone has abandoned them, what is it that still lingers so close? 5. The mysterious sickness. When the mind is tormented, when failures multiply, and when isolation tightens its grip, the judgment does not stop at the unseen. It begins to invade the body itself. This is where the mysterious sickness enters, creeping in silently, draining strength day by day. It is not a wound that can be bandaged, nor a disease easily identified. It is subtle, insidious, and terrifying. They wake up tired no matter how many hours they sleep. Their body feels heavy, as if chains are wrapped around their limbs. A constant fatigue begins to blur their thoughts, making even the simplest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. And the nights bring no relief. Insomnia stalks them like a predator. When they do close their eyes, they are greeted not by peace, but by shallow rest filled with strange sensations. A pressure on the chest, the weight of something unseen, shadows pressing into their dreams. Panic attacks strike without warning. A racing heart, cold sweats, trembling hands, as if their body is responding to an invisible enemy. The doctors are puzzled. They run test after test, scan after scan, but everything comes back normal. On paper, the enemy of the chosen looks healthy, but in reality, they are unraveling from the inside out. This is the cruelest paradox. They cannot prove what is happening to them, yet they cannot escape it. The sickness is invisible to human eyes because it does not begin in the flesh. It begins in the spirit, then spreads to the mind, and finally manifests in the body. It is not a physical illness. It is the soul collapsing under the unbearable weight of divine justice. The light they tried to extinguish now burns within their own being as a consuming fire. And here lies the horror. The more they resist, the worse it becomes. Medicines numb symptoms temporarily, but never heal them. Sleep aids dull the night, but cannot silence the dread that waits when the pill wears off. Even their energy to pretend disappears. People begin to notice the change in their face, the pale skin, the tired eyes, the voice that has lost its strength. The once proud enemy of the chosen now looks hollow, as though life itself is being drained away drop by drop. Deep down, they begin to fear a truth they cannot admit. This sickness is not random. It is not a cruel twist of fate. It is the body echoing the verdict, already written in the unseen realms. Every ache, every sleepless night, every unexplained weakness is a reminder. They are paying a price for touching what was untouchable. And yet, as devastating as this mysterious sickness is, it is still not the end. Because the body may falter, but destiny is not satisfied with silent suffering. The next stage is far more brutal. It does not only strip strength, it tears apart pride. And when that moment arrives, humiliation becomes the sharpest weapon of all. 6. The breaking of pride. Pride has always been the mask of the enemy of the chosen. It is the armor they wear, the weapon they brandish, the illusion that convinces them they are untouchable. But when divine judgment advances, pride is the very first fortress to fall. It does not collapse in silence. It shatters publicly for all to see. The arrogance they once carried with such confidence begins to crumble under the weight of undeniable humiliation. Those who once looked at them with envy or fear now witness their downfall with stunned eyes. The louder they boasted, the harsher the silence that follows. What makes this stage terrifying is the exposure. Failures in private can be hidden. Weakness in secret can be concealed. But when pride breaks, the collapse is on display. Their name, once spoken with respect or authority, is now whispered with pity, sometimes even with ridicule. The same mouth that once mocked the chosen is forced to taste humiliation. What they once said, "They are weak, they are nothing," becomes the exact sentence that defines their own condition. The reversal is absolute. Chosen one, this message ends here. Come back tomorrow for another message.